Hello students, I'll be discussing the simple concept of resistors, what is the definition of resistors and what are the different units of resistors. As all of you know that a resistor is an important concept in physics, and from the definition of resistors we know that resistors are passive components used to limit the rush of currents. From the definition there comes the term of passive components. We know that we have two types of components in physics. One component is called as active component and second is called as passive component. Active components are those components that produce the energy. For example, I'll tell you something. I have a battery in my hand. The battery is simply the source of energy, or it, in other words, we can say the battery gives us energy. Those components that generates the energy, they are called as active components. In opposite to that, those components that dissipates the energy, that waste the energy, they are called as passive components. Now we became familiar with the term passive, but from the concept of resistors, from the definition of resistors, we know that resistors are passive components. Now what it means that passive means they are dissipating energy. Resistors are passive components that use it to limit the rush of currents. Whenever whenever the huge current flows through the particular circuit, in order to limit, in order to allow the fixed current to pass through the circuit, we use the term resistors. Resistors is simply analogous to a pipe that allows the fixed capacity of water to pass through along itself. So simply from the definition of resistance, we know they are passive components. The resistance is simply measured by a device called ohm meter and its units are ohms. It was a scientist named as George Simon Ohm. He first gave the term ohm. The resistance is measured by a device called ohm. So this is ohm meter. This is the typical symbol of ohm meter. In the day-to-day life, whenever you come across this device, you will assume, you will understand that this is typical example of ohm meter and it's used to measure the resistance of any substance. On the screens you'll be analyzing the devices. This device is simply the symbol of ohm meter, sign of ohm meter. Now there are a symbol of resistors what we come across the day-to-day lives. These are the actual resistors in the actual life. The symbols, the golden colored symbols, the multicolored symbols are a typical example of resistors. But symbolically, when we designate the resistors on a paper, this zigzag symbol is used to designate the symbol of resistor. In physics, we have beautiful law. This law is called as Ohm's law. Ohm's law is simply based when we have is based on the knowledge of resistance. In other words, we can say the Ohm's law can be only studied when we know a little knowledge about when we know the knowledge of resistance. So resistors are simply found in day-to-day lives, especially in bulbs, in LED lights, because they are used to allow the particular current to pass through the particular device. This was a little bit simply the definition of resistors.